Let me tell you something. Not every story begins with love, hope, or a glimmer of redemption. Sometimes a story starts with a man staring out of a frost-covered window, hands calloused from years of hard work, breath fogging the glass, waiting quietly for the world to change into something new. That man was me, Sam Ward, carrying the weight of 45 harsh winters stacked like stones on my bones, each one heavier than the last. This year, in particular, felt like it was trying to finish me off completely. My beard had gone. White right at the chin, a detail my late wife used to tease me about fondly, and God, how I missed that woman. 3 years ago, I buried her under the old cottonwood tree that leaned sorrowfully over the creek, bowed as if weighed down by its own grief. Since then, the only company I kept were ghosts and fences. At least fences never asked for much in return. Her presence lingered everywhere in the cabin. The woven shawl draped over a chair, the shelf lined with dried herbs she had carefully arranged, and that I hadn't dared to touch since. Even in bed, I clung to my side, avoiding the cold, empty space beside me that felt like both an accusation and a strange kind of comfort. We had tried to build a family, but all I ever made was an empty cradle, and the town folks whispered that grief had broken me, or maybe that I was always broke. I made my monthly trips for supplies, never speaking more than necessary, paying quietly, and leaving without a word. Then, one bitter night, under a bruised sky, swallowing the last light, I heard a sound that didn't belong to the wind. At first I thought it might be a coyote, but stepping out with my shotgun more from habit than fear, I found her. A young woman lying in the snow beneath my cedar tree, her dress torn, blood staining her shoulder to wrist, barefoot and curled in on herself as if trying to vanish into nothingness. For a moment, I was frozen. When you've seen too much loss, it takes time to believe something new is happening. I lowered my gun, knelt down, and lifted her into my arms, feeling how light she was, almost less than sorrow itself, with a scent of river water and wood smoke clinging to her. Bringing her inside felt like dragging a storm through the door. I wrapped her in my only blanket that didn't carry the scent of old memories, and watched her lips move in a language I couldn't place. Maybe Comanche, maybe just fear. I hadn't seen their people around here since soldiers marched through and declared peace at the barrel of a gun. But this girl, no older than 20, looked like she was running from something even dark. Her wound was deep, but not fatal. I cleaned and stitched it carefully, hands remembering the skill despite a mind that tried to forget. She flinched once. Neither of us spoke. When I finished, I stepped outside into the falling snow, letting the cold moonlight and wind scrape the weight off my lungs. That cedar tree, the one my wife loved, stood silent and still. Since her death, even the wildflowers had stopped coming back. Inside, the girl slept near the fire, still a stranger in my home. I told myself she would be gone by morning, but when dawn came, she was still there, sitting up alert, as if expecting trouble. I had left bread and jerky nearby, and she ate quickly, eyes constantly darting, as if every sound could be a threat. I sat at the table with coffee cooling in my hand, not staring but not ignoring her either. She didn't thank me, didn't ask for anything. Only returned my gaze with a tired truce between us. "You're safe here for now," I said, voice rough from disuse. She didn't run. Snow fell thicker that day, and I did my chores slowly. When I returned, she had cleaned the hearth and folded the blanket neatly. I saw the hunger in her eyes and how she eyed the cupboard but didn't ask for anything. That night I made stew, and she ate slowly and carefully, chewing only on one side. I guessed she had bruises hidden beneath her dark hair but didn't ask. She didn't offer any explanation either. A storm hit that night, wind howling like it held a grudge, and I gave her the bed, telling myself it was practicality, not kindness. I slept in a chair. At some point in the night, I woke to find her standing by the window, backlit and scanning the horizon. "Are you expecting trouble?" I asked. She turned, studied me, then nodded silently. That silence spoke volumes. I told her she could stay the night, and we'd figure out the rest in the morning. Not trust, not fear, but something in between. At sunrise, while feeding the horses, I saw hoof prints circling my cabin, riders on the ridge with painted faces, and spears catching the dawn's light. Comanche, dozens, maybe more. The girl showed no surprise. We said nothing. The land fell silent. Even the birds vanished. The wind stilled. They came with the calm confidence of people who know they don't need to rush to claim what's theirs. At their head was a man cloaked in black wolf fur, his face marked by old sorrows. Before I could move, the girl stepped forward. "Father," she said. That word struck me like a hammer. The man looked past her and through me, seeing a broken man standing beside his daughter. His voice was thunder held quiet as he said, "You sheltered her." I nodded. He stepped closer, and in his eyes I saw sleepless nights, the same as mine. The girl, Nahili, stood between us. "I didn't run from you," she said. "I ran from men who take what they have no right to." His eyes darkened. "You crossed into death, and this man gave you breath again," she answered for me. I took it back myself. He studied me carefully, then gently touched her chin. "You're not a child, but I still wish I could choose for you." He declared his warriors would not strike today, but warned they might return, not as family, but as enemies. "You have 3 days," he said, and then they rode out, their circle breaking like a wave. Nahili and I stood in the silence left behind by the riders. Back in the cabin, she asked quietly, "Where would I go?" Not pleading, but challenging me. I had no answer. She said, "You gave me a room that didn't lock. That was enough." I kept myself busy with chores, counting down the 3 days like grains of sand slipping through my fingers. That evening, as the wind rose outside, she sat by the fire weaving leather with steady hands. I watched her, not with longing, but with something like wonder. She caught me staring and asked, "You don't fear them?" "No," I said. "Why?" "Because I've already lost what most men fear losing." She nodded slowly. "I haven't, but I almost did." Our silence was different now, not empty, but like a shared room we both occupied. Over the following days, we moved around, each other carefully, sharing chores without a single word. She asked about my wife, Marjorie, and gently laid her shawl at the foot of the bed. Once, she sang a low Comanche lullaby. I didn't ask what it meant. We taught and learned from each other in small, quiet ways. I showed her how to tie knots for rain. She taught me the knots used for arrows. In the evenings, we sat near the fire, close but never touching. One night, she said her name aloud, Nahili, and we let it settle in the air between us. The morning of the 3rd day came cold and gray. Nahili dressed with resolve, not fear. We sat drinking coffee, waiting for the storm to break. "They will see me as claimed," she said. "They won't ask why you helped me. They'll think they already know." "Then we tell them," I replied. "And if they don't listen, we make them." The thunder of hooves returned, stronger and closer. This time, no circle of riders, just a line, a clear challenge. Chief Navo led them. "You've had your days," he said. "Now she returns." "She is not property," I told him firmly. "She is daughter," he answered. "That is not ownership. That is bond." Nahili stepped forward, voice steady. Let it die if it was built on silence. Navo turned to me and handed over a ceremonial knife. "You will hunt with me. 1 deer, 1 path. Walk it without flinching, and I'll know what kind of man you are." We rode into the hills and tracked a buck. I shot true. We returned just as rain began to fall, not hard but steady, like forgiveness. Navo placed his fingers on Nahili's forehead. "You are no longer of my fire, but not gone from my heart." He turned and left. Inside, as rain whispered softly, on the roof, Nahili came to me. "You didn't flinch," she said. "Didn't know I had a choice," I answered. "I want to stay," she said simply. I touched her cheek, warm skin, clear eyes. "Then stay," I said, because nothing in my life had ever felt more simple or true. We built a life from that quiet, steady place, rooted in choice. The town watched, judged, and whispered, but we rode in together, heads held high. "We'll be married come spring," I told them. Some blinked in surprise, others bristled, some softened. Over time, the world bent a little. Nahili and I worked the land side by side. She taught me to track. I taught her to shoot. We learned to speak not just with words, but with glances, with the brush of hands, and with the slow, certain building of trust. One night, as she stood in the doorway, hands resting on the life growing inside her, she said, "You're different." I said, "That's because I don't carry it alone anymore." And that was the truth. Some stories begin with fire, some with ash, but ours began the moment I opened the door and let her in, and I suppose that's the heart of it. Not rescue, not conquest, but 2 souls meeting in the space between storms, choosing each other over silence, fear, and the long, cold ride of loneliness. So, what would you have done? Was it right to open that door, to let go of the past and choose a future no one else understood? I'll let you decide because I'm still living the answer. Tell me, what does justice mean to you when it comes wrapped in mercy and the choice to stay or walk away? You know what I mean? Share your thoughts. Let's see if any of us ever really get it.